Lord Ahmed of Rotherham, the Nonce. Officially, that is now his title, or at least that's how I'm going to use it from now on.
Yes.
And
I mean, the Queen's giving out all sorts of titles.
yeah, so we'll get this article up. This is from BBC News. So everyone knows about the Rotherham scandal. We will go into a bit of depth of that in a middle. But the Lord of Rotherham, Lord Ahmed, one of the first Muslim lords in the House of Lords, convicted of also being a nonce here, this time in the 70s. So let's go through all the details first, and then please stick around because this is going to get worse and worse, which seems to be a running theme of some of our segments. A former Lord Peer has been found guilty of sexual offences against 2 children in the 1970s. Lord Ahmed of Rotherham was convicted of a serious sexual assault against a boy and attempted rape of a young girl. Sheffield Crown Court heard the repeated sexual abuse happened in Rotherham when he was a teenager. Who is shocked? The 64-year-old, who appeared under his real name of Nazir Ahmed, has denied the charges. During the trial, prosecutor Tom Little QC told the court Lord Ahmed had attempted to rape the girl in the early 70s when the defendant was aged 16 or 17, the age of consent in the UK being 16. But she was much younger, so she was much younger than 16. I don't give the exact date because they don't seem to. But the attack on the boy, who was aged under 11 at the time, also happened during the same period. The attack on the boy, who was under age 11... Sorry, rereading the same sentence there. Mr. Little said Lord Ahmed claimed the allegations were a malicious fiction, but a phone recording of a 2016 conversation between the 2 victims showed that they were not made up or concocted. The woman's call was prompted by an email from a male victim saying, "I have evidence against that paedophile," the jury previously heard. Lord Ahmed was charged along with his 2 older brothers, Mohammed Farouk, 71, and Mohammed Tariq, 65. But both were deemed unfit to stand trial. Both had faced charges of indecent assault against the same boy abused by Lord Ahmed. Though the men did not face a criminal trial, jurors concluded that they did commit the alleged acts after hearing the evidence from the case. So his 2 brothers as well, also convicted there.
So it's all 3 of them.
But apparently too old, or too ill. I don't know. The details they don't say.
Did they not give the details? No, okay.
No. Last part here. Lord Ahmed, who was convicted following a retrial, resigned from the House of Lords in November 2020 after Conduct Committee reported conclusion that he had sexually and emotionally abused a vulnerable woman who sought his help. The judge, Mr. Justice Lavender, bailed Lord Ahmed, don't know why, to appear at the same court sentencing on February 4th. So you can see there.
What a piece of work.
Yeah, John, I can see you don't have a link there, but if you can load up the highlighted link I've got there as well, because they mentioned the fact that this was a retrial. This wasn't the initial trial. And the reason for that is because the trial they ran before, as you can see from the judge here, saying it was sabotaged. Sabotaged by who? The police, apparently. As in the police didn't do their jobs, and therefore the case fell through, and then they had to rerun the whole thing. So we should have had this a year sooner, and instead, the police messing up there. I'm sure perfectly innocently. Just like they always have. We'll move on. They also mentioned the fact that he was kicked from the House of Lords, frankly, on the basis that he had also emotionally and sexually abused another girl. This was not in the 70s. This is, as the UK Parliament link here shows, this was an inquiry into Lord Ahmed's conduct, sexually assaulting the complainant on the 2nd of March 2017.
So that's very recent.
A few years ago. Still up to his old tricks.
So that means that there's a quite large gap in which we don't know about any activity that may or may not have been going on, basically.
In which becomes a councillor in Rotherham, a lord of Rotherham, heavily connected to the Labour Party for the past 37 years at least. I have no questions. Lying to the complainant about his intentions to help her with the complaints to the Metropolitan Police regarding exploitation by a faith healer. So that's what the complaint is about, the fact that he ended up sexually assaulting this complainant who came in. He also exploited the complainant emotionally and sexually despite knowing she was vulnerable. The committee noted that at no point in the process did Lord Ahmed show any remorse or take any responsibility for any aspect of his conduct towards the complainant.
So he didn't even fake it?
No. The entire inquiry went through the whole time, found all the evidence, and then even at the end, Lord Ahmed didn't care, didn't show any remorse.
What kind of scumbag is this that he doesn't even think to himself, I should probably try and come across at least a little bit sympathetic here?
Either the first or one of the first Muslim lords in our country. And I thought we'd go back to Rotherham for a minute, because it's obviously important, and maybe someone doesn't know about the Rotherham child's sexual exploitation scandal, and you can go and find just the Wikipedia link here I'm going to use, because quite frankly, for this purpose, it's good enough. And in here, they have 34 convicted nonces, and they have one yet to be sentenced on the books. Obviously not the full roster of those involved, and as you can see, the listed 1,400 supposed victims, or just estimated victims, because we don't have the exact number, because the police never did their jobs. Lord Ahmed had something to say about this back in the day.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because this is his, well, not constituency, but backyard. What did he have to say about it? Lord Ahmed calls on mosques to speak about sex abuse in 2012. What did he say? Quote, "It's important that the community, rather than going silent, talk about it."
Is that it?
The rapist has an opinion on grooming gangs in Rotherham raping young girls. And his opinion is we shouldn't be silent about it.
We should brag about it.
Instead, just go ahead. Just become a Lord of the Realm whilst you're at it. I don't know. I have no idea. I mean, just what a scumbag. But it gets worse, because if we go to the next link, you have the sexual scandal in Rotherham, also allegedly accusing councillors as suspects. Lord Ahmed also being a councillor, quite a long period of his life.
It said in the previous BBC article that one of the women from the woman from 2017 was someone who came to him for help. So
came to him for help, and he sexually abused her. If we go to the next link, you can see in here they say 300 suspects. Apparently, the National Crime Agency ended up upping that to 420 suspects in Rotherham alone. How many is 420, really, when you think about it? 420 in one town. Well, it's time for statistical analysis, isn't it? Let's go to the next link. This is just data. Pure data of Rotherham.
Empirical facts.
2011. And in here they say there are 9,614 Muslims, or 4%. Or, if you don't like that, it pretty much matches the 4% Asian population, in case you're squeamish about such debates. So, if you just run the data there and end up removing a proportion of that, which should be children, so you end up removing about 2,500 children from that original number, and then you remove women, because women are not caught in these extremely often. It's extremely rare that they're suspects in these cases. And you get about 3,500 Muslim men living in Rotherham. Men. 420 suspects.
There's quite a few of them.
420 over 3,500. It's about 12%. Leave that in your heads. Moving forwards. Let's go to the next link. Sorry. Next link, Rotherham grooming, South Yorkshire Police, not recording the ethnicity. You may remember we
I wonder
this.
why.
The police, to this day, apparently were still not recording the ethnicity of those they were arresting for such crimes, after being told twice by the Home Office to do it, and still not doing it. And then Priti Patel has to come in and tell them to do it again. I don't know what they'll do in response. I wonder why. We have the statistics.
Might look bad.
Moving on. Ahmed has also been asked about this in the past, and has an excuse for those engaging in the raping of children, which isn't a very wise political move, if nothing else, but he did it anyway. What was his excuse? Grooming of girls by Asian gangs fueled by unhappy arranged marriages to cousins, claims Muslim peer. They're just married to their cousins and not happy in the relationship. Right.
Don't marry your cousins then.
Quote, "They are forced into marriages and they are not happy." He's talking about the rapist. Yeah.
Oh, those poor sympathetic rapists.
I know. Can we have some feelings for them? They're married to their cousins.
F's in the chat, boys.
Why is that, boys? "They are married to girls from overseas who they don't have anything in common with. They have children and a family." Speaking of the rapists. "But they are looking for fun in their sexual activities and seek out vulnerable girls. An adult woman, if you're having an affair, would want your time, money, and for you to break up your marriage," the peer added. Therefore, they rape kids.
This sounds less like an explanation and more like an excuse.
Yes, that's why I call it an excuse.
Yes, unsurprising coming from this man.
But this is what we're dealing with in the UK, in case you wondered how just effed our political discourse on this subject is. The first, or one of the first, Muslim lords in the realm ever. What was his response to the Muslim grooming scandal on his own doorstep? Make excuses for the rapists. Directly. These are his quotes.
It's not like he doesn't seem to have a vested interest in making these excuses.
Yeah, but you'll notice the excuse actually does come within Islamic practices, saying that Islamic practices cause Muslims to rape non-Muslim children. That's what he's arguing. Saying about the permissiveness or the common parlance of marrying your cousin. Studies have shown that 55% of British Pakistanis marry their first cousins, usually from abroad. In Bradford, this figure can be as high as 75%. The male there. And one thing I thought I'd never say, but John, if you could pull up the incest map, we can have a look at it. Do you see any patterns? Any at all? There are, of course, outliers, but what's the big pattern among the most high prevalent countries there?
It does paint a picture, doesn't it?
Allahu Akbar. Moving on. But it's not just Pakistanis either, is the point I'm making there. It is an Islamic thing. Moving on, because this is now all that has taken place. I've given you the background of Lord Ahmed, and a bit of a scumbag that he is. There is some justice here, and a long-awaited justice, for a certain somebody from the Netherlands. So, this is a Nederlander, Geert Wilders, who has finally got at least some comeuppance out of this. I mean, not just the two people who were victims, but also, of course, the political fallout from this. And as you can see here from Hearts of Oak on Gedda, Lord Pearson and Baroness Cox were the parliamentarians who invited Geert Wilders to show his excellent film. This was Fitna, I think I'm pronouncing that correct. And Geert Wilders says, Lord Ahmed managed to stop me entering the UK in 2009 by threatening to mobilise 10,000 Muslims if I visited Britain's parliament to show my movie Fitna about Islam. Today, he is found guilty of attempting to rape a young girl. And apparently sexually assaulting a young boy, I believe it was. Not Geert Wilders. No, Mr. Ahmed. Living up to the stereotype, let's say. And if I thought we'd check this out because I couldn't believe this was a real thing. I hadn't heard of it, just my ignorance. So I went and checked out some of the articles written at the time. And as we can see here, we have an article from the Mail written at the time saying Lord Ahmed, a supposedly moderate Labour peer. Moderate. This is what a moderate peer looks like.
Is this moderate Labour?
This is moderate Labour. These are the normal MPs that they wanted to get in.
Ah, the ones that are going to be conscripting soon.
Yes, the Labour Party. Literal nonce party. So the moderate Labour MP had been reported as saying that he would mobilise 10,000 of his co-religions if Mr. Wilders were allowed to come here, though he strongly denies that he ever said this. Well, you would, wouldn't you? Trying to cover your tracks. Although I'm actually surprised that he bothered trying to cover his tracks at all.
He didn't seem that sad about anything else he'd done before, regretful at all.
Yeah, and they add some of the things he's done that should be regretful, included in his long line of crime, in which we have the same Lord Ahmed who invited an Al-Qaeda terror suspect to visit Westminster 3 years ago. But Geert Wilders, saying that maybe Islam isn't Western, no, he's got to go.
Is Ahmed a good friend of Jeremy Corbyn's?
He condemns all bombing.
Ah, okay. But we will mobilise.
Yeah, and if we go to the BBC article on this, there's some more information in here. Labour peer Lord Ahmed, who expressed his concerns, as the BBC put it, I mean, calling to mobilise 10,000 Muslims to fight, or presumably kill, Geert Wilders, that's expressing your concerns, to parliamentary authorities about Mr. Wilders' visit, said he welcomes the decision to ban the MP, because the British response was to just ban Geert Wilders from coming, apparently. Boy, I can taste the liberalism from here.
Wow.
Quote, it would be unwise to have him in the UK because this man's presence would cause hatred. Man, shows film, you kill man, the man was the hateful one.
This is just really giving more credence to my theory that Islamophobia is caused more and more by knowledge of Islam.
Continued quote, he has a case against him in Amsterdam court for inciting hatred. I don't know how that case worked out because I didn't get a chance to look it up, but I don't care. The point was whether or not he should be able to come here and criticise Islam by showing a film, and your response was no. And
I mean,
you got your way.
If the case in Amsterdam was brought on by the same sort of circumstances that this was, then...
Yeah, I mean...
It's ridiculous.
I'm accusing you of hatred, says the nonce. Right, okay. Final off here. Chris Huhne, Lib Dem Home Affairs spokesman, said he had watched the film, which he called revolting, and backed the ban, because I'm a liberal Democrat. I'm for liberalism. That's why I'm for banning people criticising Islam.
I care about British liberties, yes.
So the Lib Dem's always been a bit of a joke on this issue. But let's move to the next link, the New York Times, who wrote about this at the time as well, who spoke about the fact that Lord Pearson had invited Geert Wilders to come and show his film. And, you know, all duties to Lord Pearson for doing the right thing, which is, can we talk about a thing? That's his stance.
Is this about to smear Pearson?
No, it's just a quote from Pearson, but a very revealing quote. Lord Pearson, an Eton-educated former insurance executive, suggested that Muslims were less tolerant of dissent and criticism than Christians. How could he prove such a claim? Well, he asked the question, why, if you are a Muslim and convert to Christianity, do you become an apostate? And why, if you are a Christian and convert to Islam, do you suffer no problem at all, he asked.
Good question.
I actually love how Lord Pearson is just so polite about the whole thing, because he could obviously be more terse, and
Yes.
He doesn't. He just well, there's the evidence. Run it in your own head. Moving on. So let's go to the other Islamist BS Lord Ahmed has done throughout his time as, well, I don't know, representative of the Muslim community in the House of Lords, as he's been called in the past. And this is a website called, what is it, Pakistanis 101? And 101pakistanis.com, and they are celebrating members of the Pakistani, I don't know, ethnic group who are in the UK and have done amazing things, and they list Lord Ahmed, of course.
Oh, okay.
Lord Ahmed has taken a stand on another issue affecting the Muslim community when he criticised author Salman Rushdie's knighthood.
We should have got him.
We should have killed him.
Yes.
I don't know if that's praise, is it? Lord Ahmed called on the then Prime Minister Tony Blair to withdraw the honour, accusing the author of the Satanic Verses of having blood on his hands for offending Islam in his writings.
But if we murder you, there's no blood on my hands.
The only people who got killed in response to Salman Rushdie's book were the Islamists killing innocent people. Translators.
Didn't they kill
embassy staff.
Didn't they kill a publisher or something?
I know the Japanese translator was attacked. The embassy staff, multiple Danish embassies, I think. Oh, no, that's the Danish cartoon I'm thinking of. But there were also, I think it was, British embassies were attacked or something at the time? A ridiculous number of people were attacked. Because of what? Because of the book? No, because the Islamists have no tolerance. That's why they were attacked. Let's move on. He told the BBC there was a constant theme of demonization of the Muslim community. The goal of these people. People who criticize Islam, such as Salman Rushdie, they should not be allowed in the UK. They shouldn't get knighthoods. They should be banned. Also, he's going to make excuses for Muslim rapists, and they'll be like, "Damn, why is the Muslim community so demonized by the press?" Look in the mirror, Ahmed. Well, look in your prison mirror as you contemplate the fact that you're a rapist. Then the politicians were jumping on the bandwagon of having a go at Muslims.
Stop making it so easy.
Stop the stereotypes. You know how you stop that? Look in the mirror. He said people were exploiting the fact that some within the Muslim community threatened national security. Some, such as Lord Ahmed himself, being a rapist and continued abuser up until at least 2017, as we have the evidence, by his own House of Lords inquiry into his own actions. This is what I can't get over. A man who lives so much of a life of, well, you can't demonize the Muslim community for X, Y, or Z. There is hatred throughout this society. Oh, I can't believe people are raping you.
We must be...
You're a rapist. Like, Lord Ahmed, you're the rapist as you stand here and give this moral sermon. Sorry. Let's go to the last link here, which is just Lord Ahmed resigning from the Labour Party. So this is before he lost his position as a Lord, but instead had left the Labour Party in 2013. Why did he leave? Because people alleged him to be a nonce? Because he was making excuses for noncery? Because he had called for the knighthood to be replaced from Salman Rushdie? No. Anti-Semitism. I am shook too that this could be
Labour and anti-Semitism.
A peer has resigned from the Labour Party days before he was due to face a hearing after reportedly blaming Jewish-owned media organisations for his imprisonment for dangerous driving. He was done for dangerous driving. He was texting while driving. And the Jews did this. They got him in prison. Right.
He needed to tweet some anti-Semitism on Twitter.
Yeah, so he's tweeting his views on Israel, which I'm sure were totally kosher, and just crashed. So they say in here, a quote from him: "Having known all the facts of this case, would observe that I am not going to get a fair hearing of the complaints against me." What, did he find out like a Jew was on the
Because
panel?
of the global Jewish conspiracy.
Yeah. Now that I know all the facts, I know where they are.
That sounds like Varg Vikernes, if you're aware of him.
But that's the end of Lord Ahmed, I suppose, and there's the long list of just a horrible individual that he was, as well as now convicted nonce, excuser for noncery, anti-Semite. We could go on, frankly. And this guy was made a lord under Tony Blair. He got his counselling position and then got made lord. Wasn't an MP. I don't know what the hell he did.
The Right Honourable Knight of the Garter.
They're looking into it. The only reason he seems to have been made a lord is because he was a Muslim.
Oh, well, that doesn't...
It's just, we need
even the lords have diversity hires now.
Yeah, and this is what diversity hires will do for you. Well, that's what you'll end up with. But we can also expect him, presumably, to blame the Jews on his second imprisonment as well as his first. If you enjoyed that segment from the podcast, The Lotus Eaters, you can go over to lotuseaters.com to access all the premium content we have on the site, such as the contemplations that Josh and Thomas did together on the philosophical direction of the West. But if you'd like to find out what else is coming out on the site, you can always follow us at getter.com, with lotuseaters_com being the @. Thank you and goodbye.